We have some crucial levels coming up in the triple Qs this week that we should all be aware of. Today is Sunday, October 5th, 2025. If you guys like the video, maybe give it a like. You can comment your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretradescom for swing trading alerts, analysis, and live day trading. We have a sale site-wide as well. Courses off 40%, 60% off first month active trader, 30% off swing trades. Just use these links. If you got any questions, feel free to type them in. Anyways, let's get into it. Doing a Sunday night video here. The futures are not open yet, but they will be as of me releasing this video. But nonetheless, Friday we talked about the decline in the Qs in the afternoon, and I said a lot of this was just kind of gamma related unwinding, off that 6750 on the cash S&P, but it was led by tech to the downside. Take a look at Palantir, right? AMD ugly rejection, right? So kind of a bull trap on Thursday, and you had some other tech leaders down for the most part, although the semiconductors themselves, they're still just, in the stratosphere here. And as I've said previously, if you're looking for any sort of a top, and by top, I mean like not just a dip to the 20 MA, but like an actual top, you need the semis to die. And they need to lead to the downside on volume. But for this week, nonetheless, there are some levels that I definitely think are of note, and we should certainly be keeping an eye on. And we'll get right into it here. So I'm just going to take a look. So here's the Qs here, and obviously the 600 level is definitely a magnet. It's across all expirations, and it's going to take a while to convincingly break through that. I did a video a couple weeks ago on this, but each $100 increment on the QQQ has been met with between a 7 and 40% pullback. I don't think we're going to see 40%, but it has happened, at least on the first hit. And that doesn't mean that we can't go through it first, and push past it a little bit. But, that has been the case. So, that said, again, we're not calling tops here or anything, but we're just, pointing that out. And the reason I bring up the Friday sell is because maybe there was a little bit more to that. Let's take a look at the dealer dashboard here. And you can see, we're just going to look at SPY first for Monday. There is a little bit of, like a minor tail at 660. If you look at SPX cash, it's like 6,600 area. That doesn't really interest me too much unless we were to like gap down or something like that. But if we look at the Qs, guess who's back? You're going to see it. But those 590 boars are back, and that is certainly significant interest. It's not an LG1, but this is, it's definitely significant. And if we were to start, if we got below 600, that would certainly increase odds. You'd have 598 support there, but it would certainly increase the odds of being able to get down there. Now, that would be a 13-point sell on the Qs Monday. That would require some sort of catalyst news, things of that nature. And you see the 606 on the top side, acting as a ceiling there. Now, that's just for Monday, but let's look at Tuesday here. 589, right? More of them, 593, 595. Not really on the 600, it's more on the 598. It's almost as if they expect 600 to break Monday, and then these lower strikes to kind of come in into play later in the week. Wednesday, 590, 589. Ooh, look at that, a 585 down there. We got to expand the range. So there's downside priced in here, or at least expected. 592 for Friday, or sorry, that's Thursday. Friday is a little bit neutral. That could just be because it's a 5 DTE. Well, I wouldn't say it's a neutral, but you have the 594 there. So definitely some downside priced in. Now, if you flip this the other way, you could say if we just managed to hold 600, that interest could really start to decay, and we could start going towards 610, etc. So that's the other side of it. That's the right tail, right? And if we look at SPY for next weekend, there's some interest down here, but you're pretty positively hedged, fairly mixed. Even the Russell right now, I'm just going to point this out because I think it's interesting for next Friday. There's definitely calls up in the 250 area, and then 252, 253, or sorry, 251, 253, and then you got a lot of short puts at 238. So that could be your range there. But I find that interesting, and because again, like I said, a lot of that stuff, I think Friday was just gamma unwinds, right? If you have ODT calls you bought the day before, and you're up 300% in a few hours and it's at the strike, you're probably going to sell, right? You're going to close that out because if it just goes sideways, you're going to lose all your money. So I think that was, a part of that theme. But I mean, again, like Palantir down 7. We had, like I said, AMD. I think there was some other. I'm drawing a blank here, but I know there was a few other stocks. I know Netflix was down pretty good. Oh, it didn't take out the prior day low, but you get the point here. There was a little bit of a hit in some of the leaders, for the most part, some of these Momo plays. So maybe there was a little bit more to that. Now, again, they held 590, right? We talked about this, a week or two ago. We said if they hold 590, they're good. If that breaks, though, that opens up a trap door here. And again, 590, right now from here, that's basically just another, for all intents and purposes, another 20 MA kind of like, effective retest essentially, So that would really just be, if that level holds, again, there's no harm, no foul. But, there is tails at 585, right? And that would give you a lower low for the first time in the entire run since April, right? So that would give you a daily chart low. That's why we're looking at that. And one thing I've always noticed about these numbers here is when you continually see the same number repeat over and over, even if it doesn't get there, right? We talked about Apple 240, 230 and 240, and it was going sideways, and everybody's like, it's never going there, Aaron. It's not going to go there. And it went there, and it went through that. I said IWM again, 230 and 240 as well, and it took its time, but it got there. There was a beautiful dip buy we had earlier this year at 580 SPY. That was coming up every day for like a week and a half, and eventually it finally got there. Right, it got close a few days, and then it just didn't get there, and then finally it got there. So if we continue to see that strike over and over, it means they want it to go there, and it's going to. So, unless we start really pushing towards the other way and just kind of decaying out those strikes, it's very likely that we could see that this week. Additionally, kind of I don't know if it's not like a super, it's kind of a supporting kind of thing, but you can see like the standard deviations here on the Qs. Each time it rides that yellow, that like 2 standard dev up, and then it kind of dips off that, it usually likes to mean revert to the 20 MA once it gets a good red candle off of that. And that's exactly what we just did here. So again, I wouldn't make a trade based off of that, but it does kind of support that thesis a little bit. So I'd be watching those levels down there on the Qs, and if 590 breaks, they better be able to hold 585, otherwise we could start to see some real negative gamma here. Again, I don't see hugely negative hedging at all in the spiders this week. So maybe that's the saving grace. Maybe we continue to see some rotation, but definitely something to keep an eye on here, especially if you do watch the QQQ and trade it like most people do. So anyways, guys, we'll wrap it up here. You guys take care. Don't forget to comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. I'll see you guys all tomorrow.